to our pavilion. My name is Juan, and I'm the Deputy Director of the American Center. I'm both happy and sad to say that this is our last event of the Kolkata Book Fair this year. So far, we've had over 18 events, and we're very, very grateful to you all because we've had over 60,000 visitors who come to our pavilion, which is themed Planet Us or Planet US. And it's meant to highlight what the US is doing with partners across the globe, like yourself, to fight climate change and protect the environment. So today we have a very special program because we're going to showcase how can the arts and music can work along with these ideas on how to protect the environment and prevent climate change from getting worse. But before we commence, I want to introduce Consul General Melinda Pavitt. She's the U.S. Consul of the United States in East and Northeast India, and she has some great remarks for you on climate and the environment, the arts, and many other fun things. So without further ado, over to you, Consul General.
Thank you very much, Juan, and thank you to all of you. Good evening, namaskar. It's wonderful to be here for our concluding event of the Kolkata International Book Fair in our U.S. Pavilion. This year, as Juan mentioned, our pavilion's theme has been Planet US or Planet Us. Over the last 2 weeks, we have highlighted the dangers from climate change and the importance of doing something about it now. We have discussed some U.S. initiatives to fight the climate crisis and what we can all do together to counter the damage that is caused by climate change. Like many of you, I have enjoyed the insightful discussions about climate change from a broad range of eminent speakers, experts, and youth leaders. Whether we have talked about U.S.-India commitments to address climate change, or revisited the key takeaways from COP28, or discussed the role of civil society, or shared information about the impact of climate change on gender and vulnerable communities, or stressed the importance of responsible education for creating environmentally conscious citizens. This has been an invaluable platform for us to share, learn, and grow together. What I have enjoyed most in these discussions, however, is when I have seen people listening to each other in an inclusive and productive way. The students that were here last week to talk about climate anxiety, for example, listened actively to our fabulous speaker, asked her questions that showed that they had done research and really thought about the subject, and then listened to her answers and the ideas that were given by other students. It was, I would call it, a true dialogue. So through true dialogues, followed by proactive change and habit change, we will advance in this battle. Today, we wanted a way to sum up all of the dialogues and conversations we've had in this wonderful pavilion, all of the impressions that we've had over the course of the book fair, and we wanted to bring it all together in ways to show how climate issues are reflected in science, news, art, dance, and language. So that's what we focused on through the pavilion. So tonight with this final event, we're tying all of those threads together via art. To break down the last barriers, to build bridges over the cultural gaps, and to see new ways to progress for our shared goal, a healthy human habitat on this planet. As I have said many times throughout the fair, and as Juan mentioned as well, our theme this year is Planet US, United States, and Planet Us. And at the end of the day, that's what this climate crisis is about and who it affects. Us. All of us. You, me, your friends, our families, our towns and villages and countries. It's everyone we've ever known and all of the strangers we will never meet. All of us are in this together for our future selves and for our future generations. This program on introspection and healing through the arts is the best kind of finale for the book fair. As the climate crisis worsens, it makes sense that we are seeing a surge of literature about climate change, environmental destruction, extinction, and other related topics. Whether it is Gary Snyder's words of hope and despair, painting nature in all of its colors in The Burning Island, or Maman Dai's evocative words linking nature with a woman hoping for change in The Floating Island, authors are entering our psyches and writing the stories that reflect all of our hopes and fears. And the need is great. It's time to realize that extreme climate conditions have blurred the lines between fact and fiction, and that climate fiction, which once seemed dystopian and far-fetched, is now an ever-encroaching reality. Over the last decade, literature from India and the United States have poignantly articulated movement toward a bleak future. But please do not think that this literature means that the effort is hopeless, because it is far from hopeless. Change is happening everywhere around the world. Urgency does not replace hope, because programs like these and your voices tell us that we are in this fight together. We share the same platform to spotlight the shared vision of the US and India collaboration, which drives the scientific community to find the answers. It pushes journalists to inform communities with accurate information, and it inspires artists to share their thoughts in countering the climate crisis, all in the name of moving toward a healthier, cleaner, and greener future together. So I would like to thank Samrita Ganguly, who's here, for her excellent contributions tonight. Chikret Sen for his amazing musical interludes that we'll hear. And Justin Khan for bringing in the American rhythms this evening. I would also like to thank the students in the audience who are reshaping our climate reality in their own ways. And I'd like to thank all of you who are here tonight for coming to our pavilion and being a part of Planet Us, Planet US. I hope that we keep reading the authors who are writing for conservation, for preservation, and for the protection of those who are extremely vulnerable to climate change. I hope that we keep talking about these issues and taking action. The work ahead is difficult, like all good things are, and we can do great things when we do them together. In the spirit of the book fair, I'd like to close with a poem by the first Native American poet laureate, Joy Harjo, called "Don't Bother the Earth Spirit." Don't bother the Earth Spirit who lives here. She is working on a story. It is the oldest story in the world, and it is delicate and changing. If she sees you watching, she will invite you in for coffee, give you some warm bread, and you will be obligated to stay and listen. But this is no ordinary story. You will have to endure earthquakes, lightning, the deaths of all those you love, and the most blinding beauty. It is a story so compelling that you may never want to leave. This is how she tracks you. See that stone finger over there? That is the only one who ever escaped. Thank you very much, and over to Samrita.
Thank you so much, CG Pave. Good evening, namaskar, and welcome to the American Center / USA stall in the International Kolkata Boy Mela on the very final day. The history of life on Earth has been a history of interaction between living things and our surroundings. During the past century, the power we've usurped and the control we've exercised over the environment has increased to a disturbing, alarming magnitude, causing irreversible, irreparable, irrevocable damage to our planet. So, before we settle down comfortably this evening for music and poetry, may I invite you to interact with the two world maps that are kept in this stall. You will also find stationery in front of the world maps. CG Pavik, if you could lead this activity, walk up to the map nearest to you, use our stationery, and point out on this map where you think the world is hurting and requires healing. Our student volunteers will also guide you to the map at the back.
You can write down the whole thing. Okay. Yeah.
Which parts of the world do you think are hurting because of climate change? Which parts of the environment require healing? If a couple of you would like to come up and make your contributions to the map here in the front, I can already see a host of people at the back. Which parts of the world do you think require healing? Eating a mango in Calcutta. The Irish nun in finishing school taught me how to eat a mango in summer. Knife, fork, the tip of my forefinger, pump. But some women come from a different soil. They eat with hands, mouths, eyes. My mother, my mother's mother, women wild, women fertile, women who dared to laugh, wear red, women who dared to bleed. It is not eating, they said, until you've plucked the fruit, spat out seeds, sucked it dry. Can't eat ripe mangoes on hot afternoons in Calcutta without sweating. For eating is a verb, a metaphor that can birth love. As man proceeds towards his announced goal of the conquest of nature, he has written a depressing record of destruction, directed not only against the earth he inhabits, but against the life that shares it with him. He has tried to beat nature into submission, as he has done with women. But walking on this earth is like kissing her skin. We owe it to ourselves to take care of this canvas, this living skin we walk on, to protect planet us.
There's a song about coal mining in the state of Kentucky in the U.S. When I was a child, my family would travel down to western Kentucky where my parents were born. And there's a backwoods old town that's often remembered so many times that my memories are worn. And Daddy, won't you take me back to Muhlenberg County, down by the Green River where paradise lay? Well, I'm sorry, my son, but you're too late in asking. This Peabody's coal train is hauled it away. And then the coal company came with the world's largest shovel, and they tortured the timber and stripped all the land. Well, they dug for their coal till the land was forsaken, and they throwed it all down to the progress of man. And Daddy, won't you take me back to Muhlenberg County, down by the Green River where paradise lay? Well, I'm sorry, my son, but you're too late in asking. Mr. Peabody's coal train has hauled it away.
Don't bother the earth spirit who lives here. She is working on a story. It is the oldest story in the world and it is delicate, changing. If she sees you watching, she will invite you in for coffee, give you warm bread, and you will be obligated to stay and listen. But this is no ordinary story. You'll have to endure earthquakes, lightning, the deaths of all those you love, almost blinding you. It is a story so compelling, you will never want to leave. This is how she tries. See that stone finger over there? That is the only one who ever escaped.
My house is the red earth. It could be the center of the world. Albert, New York, Paris, or Tokyo be called the center of the world, but I say it is magnificently humble. You could drive by and miss it. Radio waves can obscure it, words cannot construct it. For there are some sounds left to sacred, wordless forms.
The world begins at a kitchen table. The gifts of earth are brought and prepared, set on the table. No matter what, you must eat to live. The gifts of earth are brought and prepared, set on the table. So it has been since creation, and it will go on. We chase chickens or dogs away from you. Babies teeth at the corners, they scrape their knees under. It is here that children are given instructions on what it means to be human. We make men at it, we make women. At this table, we sing with joy, with sorrow. We pray of suffering and remorse. We give thanks. Perhaps the world will end at the kitchen table, while we are laughing and crying, eating of the last sweet bite.
Old woman nature, naturally, has a bag of bones tucked away somewhere. A whole room full of bones. A scattering of hair and cartilage, pits in the woods. The sweet old woman calmly gathering firewood in the moon. Don't be shocked. She's heating you some soup.
Oh, we've God, who broke for me today. Sea green, massive, pink and silver, cooling, swimming down, me watching, sailing away from spear, volcano belly keeper, to lift up this island for our own beaded bodies adornment, and sprinkled us all with his love. Ash in the eve, mist or smoke, on the bare high limits, underwater, lava flows easing to coral, holes filled with striped eating swimmers.
Each night, O Earth Mother, I have wrapped my hand over the jut of your cobra hood, sleeping. Left my ear all night long by your mouth. O all gods,
Tides,
capes,
currents,
flows
and spirals,
of pool,
truth and powers. As we hold the field, let's sleep a little crow. And I'll sit us all down when we may consider the dharma. Bring with the flower a glimmer. Let us all sleep in peace together.
together.
I see trees of green and red roses too. I see them bloom for me and you. And I think to myself, what a wonderful world. I see skies of blue and clouds of white, the bright blessed day, the dark sacred night, and I think to myself, what a wonderful world. The colors of the rainbow, so pretty in the sky, are also on the faces of people going by. I see friends shaking hands, saying, how do you do? They're only saying, I love you. I hear babies cry, I watch them grow, they learn much more than I'll ever know, and I think to myself, ooh yeah, what a wonderful world. And I think to myself, what a wonderful world.
The sloping mountain is trying to reach me, stretching down into the water. Dear one, don't go away, rest. Rest on my shoulder. Deep in my center, a woman is asleep, pressing her cheek on my pillow, vivid with dreams. The birds of summer are nesting in her breast. Who knows which way the spinning current will spin? Farewell, blind mountain pasted on the sky. When the day is folded away, my heart clings to the life of water. Into the deep, into the sea green,
navigating on a heartbeat. The lilies are shooting up like swordfish, and the woman is laughing.
আমায় ভাসাইলি রে আমায় ভাসাইলি রে আমায় ডুবাইলি রে অকুল দরিয়ার বুঝি কুল নাই রে কুল নাই কিনার নাই নাই গো দরিয়ার পানি You set me adrift on this endless river. You make me drown in its depths of sorrow. No shore in sight, no hope to deliver. Storms may rage, clouds may hide, still I follow. Boundless river, no border, no shore, no limit to its flow, no end to its roar. Boatman, guide me with care and skill, my boat is frail, its rim is torn and ill. This endless river, no shore to see, no matter the weather, no matter the sea. Please take me across, dear boatman, please, to the other shore, where I may find peace. Oh, cool nai, kinar nai, nai ko doriyar pari. Cool nai, kinar nai, nai ko doriyar pari. সাবধানে চালাইও মাঝি আমার ভাঙা তরি রে ভাই অকুল দরিয়ার বুঝি কুল নাই রে চাহে আঁধি আয়ে রে চাহে মেঘা ছায়ে রে हमें तो उस पार लेके जाना माझी रे আমায় ভাসাইলি রে আমায় ডুবাইলি রে অকুল দরিয়ার বুঝি কুল নাই রে
Long years ago, we had a town in the heart of America where everything seemed to live in harmony within its surroundings. It lay in the midst of a checkerboard of prosperous farms, hillsides of orchards and fields of grain, where in spring, white clouds of bloom drifted above the green fields. In autumn, oak and maple and birch set up a blaze of color that flamed and flickered across the background of pines. Foxes barked in the hills, and deer silently crossed the fields, half hidden in the midst of the fall mornings. Even in winter, the roadsides were places of beauty, where countless birds came to feed on the berries and on the seed heads of the dried wheat rising above the snow. So it had been from the days many years ago when the first settlers raised their houses, sank their wells, and built their barns. Then, a strange blight crept over the area and everything began to change.
Some evil spell had settled on the community. Mysterious maladies swept the flock of chickens, the cattle, and sheep sickened and died. Everywhere was a shadow of death. The farmers spoke much of illnesses among their families. In the town, the doctors had become more and more puzzled by this new kind of sickness appearing among their patients. There have been several sudden and unexplained deaths, not only among the adults, but even among the children, who would be stricken suddenly while at play and would die within a few hours. There was a strange stillness. The birds, for example, where had they gone? The few birds seen anywhere were moribund. They trembled violently and could not fly. It was a spring without voices. On the mornings that it once throbbed, and dawn chorus of robins, doves, jays, and scores of other birds' voices, there was now no sound.
Only silence lay over the fields and woods and marsh. The apple trees were coming into bloom, but no bees droned among the blossoms. The roadsides, once so attractive, were now lined with brown and withered vegetation as though swept by fire. These too were silent, deserted by all living things. Even the streams were now lifeless. No witchcraft, no enemy action had silenced the rebirth of new life in this stricken world. The people had done it themselves.
This town does not actually exist, but it might easily have 1,000 counterparts in America or elsewhere in the world. I know of no real community that has experienced all the misfortunes I described, yet every one of these disasters has actually happened somewhere. And many real communities have already suffered a substantial number of them. A grim spectre has crept upon us, almost unnoticed, and this imagined tragedy may easily become a stark reality we all shall know. What has already silenced the voices of spring in countless towns of America and the world?
This is a song by Bob Dylan. How many roads must a man walk down before you call him a man? How many seas must a white dove sail before she sleeps in the sand? Yes, and how many times must the cold plants fire before they're forever banned? The answer, my friend, is blowing in the wind. The answer is blowing in the wind.
We stand now where two roads diverge. But unlike the roads in Robert Frost's familiar poems, they aren't equally fair. The road we have long been traveling is deceptively easy, a smooth superhighway on which we progress with at great speed. But at its end lies disaster. The other fork of the road, the one less traveled by, offers our last, our only chance to reach a destination that assures the preservation of our earth. The choice, after all, is ours to make.
When an elephant is sitting or sleeping, it is entirely possible for a man to stick his spear in his side and run away, at least for a while. Because the elephant is a very large animal, it takes time to respond. On the geological scale of time, the interval between response and prudent is much longer, centuries in fact. And that is very likely what we are seeing now. The elephant is chasing us and we cannot run fast enough.
The time to act is now.
The time to rethink humanity's relationship with planet Earth is now.
And this is a song by Woody Guthrie. This land is your land, this land is my land. California to the New York Island, from the redwood forest to the Gulf Stream waters. This land was made for you and me. As I went walking that ribbon of highway, I saw above me that endless skyway. I saw below me the golden valley. This land was made for you and me. This land is your land. This land is my land. From California to the New York Island, from the redwood forest to the Gulf Stream waters. This land was made for you and me.
Praise the land, the seagull dive, the curl of land, the raven talk. Praise the dark, the moon cradle, the sky fall, the bear sleep. Praise the mist, the warrior name, the earth eclipse, the fire leap. Praise the mist, the warrior name, the earth eclipse, the fire leap. Praise the roads on earth and water. Praise the rain, it brings more rain. Praise the rain, it brings more rain.
The next song is actually a Nepali song, and I do know that CG loves the North Bengal and mountains. And what's interesting is that here in this song, the community has considered how rain is like nature's waterfall. So they've kind of compared rainfall to a huge mountain and a waterfall coming down from heaven. So the song goes like. Can I have all of you clap? Pani bhaja sarara, chana bhaja garara, man maricho ajo mero anando ko lahara. Hijoku vipana, ajo bhaja sapana, ekanchi kati charai biti koya jivana. Pani bhaja sarara, phijikali tama sahara, kalo kalo badol chari phurki ayo asara. Jindagi kahile kham kahile pani lai pani lai. Maya nai sabai bando thulo puro rahi chano hai. Charai tira nila nila akasha nai chayo hai. Wari pari lage koyo kuino harayo hai. Manalai socho rakhi hi rahe chu, matiro sahara mai bachi rahe chu maya du. Mani bhaja sarara, chara bhaja garara, phurki ayo timrai tira chori saro samsara. Hijoku vipana, ajo bhaja sapana, ekanchi kati charai biti koya jivana. Mani bhaja sarara. Lei bari lei bari lei bari lei oh bari lei bari lei bari lei. Lei bari lei bari lei bari lei oh bari lei bari lei bari lei. Thank you.
Praise the rain, for it brings more rain. That was our presentation, Planet Us. Music, poetry, and climate action. It seems we have lost the capacity to foresee and to forestall. It seems we won't rest until we've destroyed the only home we have. The time to undo this damage is now. The time to think about climate change is now. And action starts with dialogue, debates, and discussions. So we'll open today's discussion with a question for CG Pavik. As a leader, what actions do you think need to be taken to protect our planet? Can we have the microphones passed around? Yes. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much for that great question. As a leader, it's a very difficult question, and yet it's very easy. How many of us have seen movies where all of Earth, all of the people on Earth gather together because an asteroid is coming to hit the Earth and the planet is going to explode? How many have seen that movie? How many have seen that movie multiple times? This is a real crisis, but we don't make the movie about this crisis, or we haven't made the movie about this crisis well enough that it compels the people among us to understand what this slow-moving crisis is. And so I think that's one of the things that the leaders have to identify is how do we share what we know about the complex science in ways through art and other methods that allows everyone to understand what is coming and what is going to change about the earth that we live in and the things that we do each and every day, so that we can then conceive of what we have to do. So I think that's one of the things that leaders need to be thinking about, is how do we communicate effectively about this crisis? I think then, once we've communicated effectively about this crisis, we also have to recognize that that is going to create energy. And among human beings, there's sort of two kinds of energy. There's one kind of energy that becomes fearful and anxiety-ridden and gets overwhelmed and sort of says, I'm going to hide. And then there's the other part of the human brain that says, I can outrun this danger. So that, I would say, one part is sort of the stress response, and the other part is the problem-solving response. And so as leaders, we need to figure out, how do we coach or assist those people who become overwhelmed and fearful and help them cope with this idea so that they can move from anxiety and fear to action? And how do we help those people who are action-focused direct their action in the right direction and bring all of those voices together around the table so that the perspectives of everyone can be a part of the solutions? And so that is part of why we are here today. We have these wonderful arts programs, we have wonderful opportunities to have discussions. And as leaders, because I'm not the only leader in this room, we are all leaders of something, whether it is the leader of our home, the leader of our neighborhood, the leader of our dreams. We are all responsible to do these things. And as we do these things, we also have to keep our values in our heart. And our values, the values between the United States and India, are ones that are related to democratic principles, rule of law, and encouraging everyone to bring their best selves to the table. And so while that is not always the cleanest way to a solution, it is the most accepting of the diverse humanity that we are, and it is the value that we support. And so thank you very much for that great question, and I appreciate your listening to my response.
Thank you so much, especially for... Thank you so much, especially for showing us how we can all be leaders, and as the hymn goes, brighten the little corner where we are. The data is clear. Statistics are staring us in the face. But if the research does not reach us, then it cannot possibly teach us. And that is probably where the arts come into play and make science and research accessible. So my next question is for Justin. What role do you think music and the arts as a whole can play in countering climate crisis? Do we have a Yes.
So thank you, Shomrita. So many artists and musicians around the world have been incorporating environmental activism into their work and artistry. One example that many people here may have heard of is the band Coldplay, British band. They're one of the biggest bands in the world, of course. They've announced that they will no longer tour until they can eliminate or offset the greenhouse gas emissions from their live show. And they've also committed to making vinyl records for their next upcoming album from recycled waste plastic bottles. So for a band as big as Coldplay, that is a big step. They generate a lot of revenue through touring. Another great example that you may not have heard of, but she's a great artist, is the American jazz bassist Esperanza Spalding. So she recently recorded a song in support of the return of indigenous land in Brazil. So there was a policy in Brazil that a previous government tried to enforce of taking away indigenous land. And so she recorded a song sort of opposing that policy, along with several Brazilian musicians. And the song, which is called Não ao Marco Temporal. Marco Temporal was the policy so that means no to Marco Temporal. That song was actually included on the National Public Radio's list of the best songs of 2023, and it's getting a lot of accolades and attention. And finally, I want to bring it back home a bit, highlighting the work of British Bengali Sarod player Shumik Datta. So in 2017, he provided, I believe, 8 of his songs to an Indian animated film called Songs of the Earth. He made the whole soundtrack. And this film follows a young climate refugee as she searches for her missing father through the floodplains of the Sundarban Delta, not far from us here in Kolkata. Burning forests and melting polar ice caps, so showing all the damage that climate change has been doing. So I hope these examples from different parts of the world show that many artists are choosing to put issues of climate change and the social reality that the environment, the changing of the environment entails at the forefront of their work and artistry in various ways. And I definitely hope this trend continues. Thank you.
Thank you, Justin. But, they say artists sort of exist in a bubble. So let's move from the arts to reality. Let's take a closer picture of what's happening right now. How many of you are actually thinking about the planet, articulating about the planet in spaces outside of these conference settings and air-conditioned chambers? Are you worried about climate crisis? And if you are, what are some of your fears? Anybody can take this question. Yes, Anand.
Right, should I come up to this?
Sure.
Hello everyone, good evening. My name is Ananya Chakraborty. I am an undergrad student of comparative literature from the university, Jadavpur University. Right, so Somrita ma'am's question was, am I worried about climate change? And if I am worried about climate change, what are the fears that I might possibly have, right? So, I have a simple answer. Yes, I am worried about climate change, simply because in today's time it has become a necessity to be worried about it, right? And well, in my opinion, there shouldn't be any second thoughts about it being worried about the climate crisis and all the the risks that we are facing, we are creating for that matter, because as Shomrita ma'am has said before and CG Pavik has said before, that we don't have a planet B, right? So this is the only plan that we have. We don't have a plan B. Right. I would also like to share an anecdote which I remembered while listening to the song at the end of Set 2, if I'm not wrong. We heard about our wonderful world, right, where the skies are blue and the clouds are white. But if you think about it carefully, that isn't the case right now. I mean, do we really get to see that pristine blue heavens this day? We don't, right? Coming back to my anecdote, I'm a teacher to a 7-year-old child. And a few days back, I witnessed him doing a school project. He was painting something, and he left the upper part of the canvas blank, where the sky was supposed to be. So when I asked him why he did it, and I suggested him that, why don't you take the color blue and white and create a mixture and paint the sky blue and, draw some clouds over there. His innocent remark was, and I quote, please listen to it very carefully, everyone. He told me, ma'am, I don't have enough brown or grey color. How am I even supposed to draw the sky or paint the sky blue and draw some white clouds when I get to see an almost brown sky with tinges of grey clouds every day when I go to school? I, for a moment, felt numb. I didn't know what to tell him. And the funny part is, I'm his teacher, so I'm supposed to have all the answers to his questions, right? But I didn't know what to tell him. So this helplessness is my fear. This is what I'm most afraid of. That the prospect that future generation, the kids of today, might not instinctively associate the color blue with the sky. Right. And if you think about it carefully, that child's observation goes beyond a mere art project, right? It denotes the detachment, that the intrinsic beauty and the younger generation that they are facing. And if you think about it, we are all a part of the nature, right? We coexist. We are not something outside of the nature. And when we say that we need to heal the world, we need to save the planet, what we really mean is we need to save ourselves, right? So that is what I'm most afraid of, that younger generations might not see the sky blue, and I really hope that we do make some changes. It's high time that we move outside of these air-conditioned chambers and start working, put our words into action so that these childs, the future generations, can see the blue sky that I have seen once when I used to go to school. So yeah, I hope that answers your questions now.
Thank you so much, Amana. This poet had once written, where is the time to stand and stare? Except that now, even if we have the time to stand and stare, I don't think we will get to see very much of the blue sky, because what's going to obstruct our vision is a tentacle of wires and webs. Everything that's connecting us is actually dissociating us. That's a very scary story that you told us. I don't think you meant it to be scary, but it's very alarming. Which sort of therefore leads me to the next question. What can we do about climate change at this stage? Given that some people are saying it's already late, it's not late enough. Yes?
Can I come up to stage, please?
Sure.
Thank you. Hello everyone, I am Arjishwan Shah and I study in Jadavpur University's Department of English. Now, before answering the question, I think we need to point out what this we is. Who are we? I feel like a lot of the time when talking about climate change, we defer a lot of responsibility. We try to talk about, okay, that governments need to do this, the organizations need to do this. But what about us? What can we do? What can I do? What can individuals do? Right. So if we take a look at our own lives, if we introspect into the daily habits, into the consumption patterns of us, then we can make multiple small changes that can have huge effect. For example, like little things like using a soap bar instead of a shampoo bottle, using public transport instead of taking Uber every time. These small things, when multiplied by millions, can have a huge effect on the environment. Maybe if we take less vacations every year, maybe if we go by train, maybe if we travel by buses and not take flights every time. Right. This might be small. If we talk about only one or two individuals, this is small. But if we take into account millions of people, like these things multiplied by millions of people, we will have a tremendous effect on the environment. Now, I do not intend to ignore the effects of collective action as well. On the 28th, in the very same USA Pavilion, eminent journalist Jayanta Basu said that the fight against climate change, at least in the governmental level, has mostly been about politics and less about climate. This obviously needs to change. But how? Only if we make the people aware, make the citizens, make the affected people aware about the entirety of climate and like have the entire climate awareness, then only we probably can achieve a state of state where the governments take the right actions and not only play petty politics on the cost of the environment. That's all.
Thank you so much, Uchishwan. I think it was very necessary to highlight that there are two kinds of we's, the individual we and also the governmental we. So maybe we will broaden this discussion a little bit more. Both the US and the India, both countries have similar goals and visions when it comes to climate action and climate change. So I want to know from the young audience sitting in this room today, how do you think these two nations, the youth especially of these two nations, can come together to take action which might be small but significant as far as climate change is concerned? Is there anyone who would like to take this question? Yes, can we pass the microphone?
Hello. Okay. Hi everybody. I'm Gokul Nair and I'm from St. Louis University. So to answer the question, as in how the youth of both countries can collaborate and everything. I guess I'll just cover
Yes,
that.
I can come.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Alright. So my ears are red. I think that is already a sign. January 31st, it's supposed to be winter, and my ears are red because of the heat. Really. But I think today was a great example of seeing what the youth can do. Like we all just congregated together, all the poetry, all the music. It was lovely, it's beautiful because I think if there's something really, really inspiring about the youth, it is how we have the sense of empathy, at least the current generation. We always try to figure out things together. There's a sense of togetherness that was not there before. I mean, social media has also facilitated that. There is a lot that can be done, I guess. Because it's US, India, arts to fight climate change. The arts is definitely one way through which we can do that. But apart from that, if the youth was to collaborate, obviously it means that the authorities, the governments, they need to collaborate even better. Yes, a lot is being done, but a lot more needs to be done as well. There are policies that need to be brought forward which can be implemented, which the youth can actually propagate in different ways and forms. Social media is definitely one way, as I mentioned. And there are ways at least there's research that can be done regarding this. There can be collaborations between students of different places. There can be so much that we learn from exchange of information and by publishing that information in different ways and forms. Apart from that as well, we can also collaborate on different ideas. India has had a long history of going back to our roots in a way, sustainable lifestyles in different ways and forms. It's always not been a concrete jungle over here. We have tried different activities and different ways of sustainable life living and everything. So that can be shared with the youth abroad in ways in case they are not aware. And so different policies can be brought forward over here as well. So just sharing information and trying our best, empathy, collaboration, everything, all of those things. So that's my answer.
Thank you so much, Gokul. Usually when we talk about climate change, we seem to be referring to a very, very distant future, except that we cannot remain in denial anymore because that future is here, that future is now. So just out of curiosity, I want to ask the members of the audience if you have felt the effects of climate change in real time in your life. What are some of these effects that you might have felt? Okay, can we pass the microphone to the lady at the back? And we have another person here in the front. Okay, we'll start with you.
Hello, my name is Ahana Ghoshal.
Come forward.
My name is Ahana Koshal. I'm in class 9 and I study in the Newtown School. So, right now, climate change is a very big problem. If we look at NASA's current records, we will see that every single year, it is the hottest year on record, and we have to come up with a way to somehow fight this. And this is kind of our fault. This is because of it's not a sudden increase, it's a gradual progression. And we know this everywhere. We have noticed this everywhere. Right now, in fact, last year in 2022, if you all remember, there was barely any cold. The winter started in January and it ended really, really fast. And if you look at the current records, Antarctica has flowers growing, and Antarctica is supposed to be one of the coldest places on Earth. So, as humans and as a part of this nation's youth, I think we should be more innovative. We should find ways to live not only a sustainable lifestyle, but also recognize the threats of humanity.
Thank you so much, Ahana. And I'm glad you brought up the point of sustainability and a sustainable lifestyle. When we talk about sustainability, I think it is important to mention that we're looking for a way to sustain ourselves, because nature has a way to sustain itself, minus us. So thank you for highlighting that. We have another answer here.
Yes. Good evening, everyone. I'm Sukanya.
Sure.
As stated by Ohona before me, the immediate effects that we are seeing of global, climate change happening all around us. Global warming is definitely the weather around us, especially those who are from here. We have abnormally warm winters, as in Decembers, and equally cold January, which is a little unusual for us. Summers are very, very hot. It used to be very pleasant in Kolkata at one point of time. Now it's reaching 40, close to 40. It's very desert-like conditions. Cyclones are frequent. Every other month we have a cyclone. These are not. I hope people remember that this has never been the normal weather conditions, at least in our city, and I'm sure many places in the world are recording the same patterns of freak weather. And also another activity maybe for all of us here, if you walk, especially in the city and many other places all around the world, if you walk 2 steps, you will find the dirt we put into our soil. You will find plastic elements, or somebody using plastic or non-biodegradable materials without any conscience. I'm not saying it's not easy to eliminate that from our day-to-day lives, but then again, a conscious effort can be made, whether it be with respect to bags or straws or just using the public transport more often. So these are some ways, but the more you notice, the more you walk, the more you see how much we are degrading in terms of maintaining our nature and the place where we live. So that's my answer. Thank you.
Thank you, Shapanda. Shall I compare thee to a summer's day? No, sorry, Shakespeare, unless you're trying to say I cannot suffer you anymore. No such comparison will hold. You mentioned one thing already, that if we walked, which a lot of us have stopped doing, there are things that we will see. Also, we will be able to cut down on our carbon footprint. So my next question is, how do you think you can pledge to bring about, you can pledge to change certain things about your lifestyle to bring about a change? Okay, we'll start with Oishiki at the back, and then Sangya can take the microphone. Should I come up? Yes. Sangya, why don't you come forward, then you can just take the answer up.
Hi, I'm Oishiki Vanipana. I'm from St. Xavier's University, Kolkata. To answer your mum, I very strongly believe, if not grand steps at the mass scale level, I think we could take up baby steps, embrace small, enthusiastically embrace small steps. Let's say turning off the lights when we leave a room, using bags that can sustain better, and not leaving the tap open. I just want to narrate a short, small anecdote. I think that will help me explain my point. So a few days back, I was on a trip to Australia, and we took a short drive from Sydney to Melbourne. And we stopped by this pie shop, and I was this struck a chord with me. The owner there, he chose to offer a discount to the customers who use a reusable cup instead of plastic ones. And that initiative caught on. The neighboring business people, they joined in, and I think that is how, ma'am, you were talking about how it's not dystopia anymore, it is now. Now is the time we're supposed to work on this. We can join. These are the small baby steps. We can join hands and take up more for a better tomorrow. Thank you. I hope that answers your question.
Yeah, thank you so much. Yes, Sangya, the microphone.
So, hello, I am Sangya Pal. I am from Loreto College. And my thing is that we should start going local. That is what we should trace back to our culture, because using local products, instead of using plastic tiffin carriers, we always use steel tiffin carriers. We always had this concept of making use of what we had. So we would have utensils made of mud and clay in India. So in India, when you're talking about climate change and what we can do to bring down our carbon footprint and to stop using plastic as much, we can trace these items back, like using reusable cups made of steel or aluminium or clay. I think that will really help make an impact, because we are all saying that we should go green, but in turn we are really forgetting that our local is green. So that's something that I would like to say.
Thank you, Shukla. A very important point. Irrespective of which part of the world you're in, the idea is to go local, because the amount of carbon footprint we leave behind when we're Amazoning things, Flipkarting things, it's ridiculous. So maybe we'll wrap up this discussion with a couple of more questions. How aware do you think are people around you as far as climate change is concerned? Your home, your family. As I said, it's very nice to talk about the climate in a space like this. What happens when you step out? Yes.
We have another answer.
Yes.
Hello again. I think that conversations and discussions around climate change are now a norm, and not only in city households where people are aware about the fact, but even in villages and in towns where people probably do not know a lot about climate change. But because people can see that the rains are being delayed, the monsoon is not coming, winters are shorter, summers are longer. These are the effects people do talk about, irrespective of the background. Now, I am someone who is not from the city. I study in the Jadavpur University and I stay here. So in my town as well, I can see people even in tea stalls, sitting in tea stalls, talking about how this year the rain is much more, how the winter is short this year. So these things have reached each and every household. But we do need to keep in mind that these are talking about the effects of climate change. A lot of people are still unaware the root causes of it. Why is this happening? There are some people who might believe that maybe this is because God is angry with us. Maybe this is because that this year this is not happening. But this is just an exception. But we can see that these kind of exceptions are becoming the norm. The climate exceptions are perhaps now the norm for us. So we need to have more deep conversations where we will be able to educate people, make people aware about the root causes of it. Now, ma'am, you were talking about dystopias and how it is no longer a dystopia and the climate disaster is the reality now. And dystopias are perhaps my favorite literary genre, because it paints a picture which is scary, but something that we can relate to. The dystopias are scary because this is something we can envision. If this was something that we could never imagine, we would probably not bother about it. We're scared of dystopias because we know this might happen. And the climate dystopias, now just to give a small example, there is a series called Luna Water. And what happens in there that people are paid in water levels now. So the higher rank you are working in, you are given access to more and more water. And scientists are saying now that the third world war might just be fought about who has the access to water. So these things in literature, in arts, in movies can help make people aware, can take this discussion forward from only the effects of climate change to a point where we take steps, where we talk about how to address this, what is the root cause of this. That's it.
Thanks, Archishman. Karisha, quickly, maybe in the interest of time, this will be the final question that we take for this evening. The final answer.
I would like to share a small anecdote from what happened a few days back was we went shopping and my mother was looking at a few purses from a brand which uses pure leather to make them. And I came back home and I told my mother that, let us avoid using brands which focus on animal cruelty. These leather purses, these are not good for our environment. And my brother was listening to it and he said something that struck me. He said that what will happen is just, we stop using these brands. Will they stop their production? What we don't realize is today, this is how the market works. We stop using them, they stop their production because they work based on our demands. And thinking about how we can help is the biggest help we can do to the environment. Let's focus on starting at home, spreading awareness at home about these things. Thank you.
Absolutely, really, that's how the market works. When we say a no, people will stop producing things, even if it takes 5 years or 10 years to get there, which is how you know that there are vegan options in restaurants now, there are more vegetarian options. People are rethinking packaging instead of plastic or bubble wraps. We are using paper wraps now. The alternative is at hand. We have to seek it, we have to use it. Every minute or two, another moth blunders through the candle flame. A dusty puff. And then silence. How easy it is to live with little deaths, like that of a little moth, or of mostly bugs, or the non-musical bugs, the non-musical birds, the less important animals. But we cannot outlive nature. We cannot outlive this universe. So let us join hands to seek the morning light and heal the planet. We will have a closing song from our musicians, Sukrit and Justin, Ma Reva, a song by Indian Ocean. But before we go into that song, I would like to thank C.G. Pavik for joining us for this program, for taking the time out from her busy schedule to interact with our audience. A huge, heartfelt thank you to all the student participants who put up with me for the last 1 month, and you've done such a brilliant job in bringing this very required pledge to the forefront today, that we need to start talking about the climate. I want to also thank the US Consulate for providing this opportunity to us and this platform to bring to you our story. Thank you so much for joining us this evening, and for friends that will be watching this episode later on our socials, etc. Let the climate go viral, and not in the wrong way. Mari.
Thank you so much, Amrita. Just to kind of, because I've been associated with the climate action, community for a while now. I think what I've realized, I was at the COP this year as well, and I'm heading for another Climate Heritage Network meeting next week again, which is only for the youth. And what is interesting is that we've realized in the last COP28 that we've been talking about climate action for a while now. And clearly what is wrong is that people are still not aware. The conversation is is being conducted within the same community again and again, years after years. And clearly the people who need to listen it, they don't even care. If you go and ask them what is climate change or climate action, they will not have an answer because they don't know what climate change is. And at the G20 meeting, we had a discussion about looking at arts as a tool to talk about climate action. And thankfully, the Indian government has acknowledged arts as soft advocacy. And my agenda for the next few years is to looking at art as not a soft advocacy, but a very meaningful advocacy. Because as we also discussed right now, why are we looking at climate action? Everyone gave a threat. Everyone said that there is a threat. The world is in danger. We've mapped places on the earth which is in danger. And I personally feel that that is a very wrong approach that we have taken so far. We are concerned about the earth because it is dying. I think we should be concerned about the earth because it is beautiful. And that is the approach that we should take with students. And I would actually go back to the traditional communities who have been doing this for a while, for ages and ages. And it is the ones with PhDs who are coming out now and suddenly recognizing, oh, this is a great thing you're doing. Let's save the earth again with the kind of things that you're doing. Again, they're not saving the earth, they're just embracing what exists. And it's never too late. Even what exists right now is beautiful, and we still have a lot of time to kind of, just embrace and enjoy what we have. So I'm actually going back to a song that became a hymn during the Narmada Bachao Andolon, which was a huge, huge activity that happened when dams were being constructed on the Narmada River. And communities around the Narmada actually came up singing a beautiful song that talks about their relationship with the river. And they call the river Ma Reva. Ma is mother and Reva is the song. So I'm just going to correct Shomrit a little bit. The song is not by Indian Ocean. Indian Ocean just made the song famous, but the song belongs to the community around the Narmada River. And very interestingly, they say how the entire song is like a paper. As academicians, we write scientific papers, give citations. This song talks about how this river comes from Amarkand, gives people, and what is interesting is that here the song refers to the fact that we are lucky that we are being able to use the water of Narmada and vice versa. So here they also acknowledge the fact that Narmada is also lucky to be helping us. So that's the beauty of the song, and it also then talks about how women and the river have a beautiful relationship. So the song goes somewhat like कंठ से निकली हो रेवा अरे अमर कंठ से निकली हो रेवा झंझन करियो तारी सेवा अमर कंठ से निकली हो रेवा झंझन करी रह तारी सेवा सेवा से सब पावे मेवा सेवा से सब पावे मेवा सौ जगदम्बे गाओ रे माँ देवा तेरो पानी निर्मल कल बहतो जाओ रे मारेवा तेरो पानी निर्मल कल बहतो जाओ पूजो मैया चरण कुमारी पूजो मैया चरण कुंवारी शिव शंकर की राज दुलारी पूजो मैया चरण दुआरी शिव शंकर की राज दुलारी गाँव गाँव में हरि धर्म का गाँव गाँव में हरि धर्म का सौ जगदम्बे गाओ रे मारेवा तेरो पानी निर्मल कल कल बहतो जाओ रे मारेवा तेरो पानी निर्मल कल कल बहतो जाओ आरो किनारो जित नर नारी आरो किनारो जित नर नारी परिक्रमा करे पग पग सारी आरो किनारे जित नर नारी परिक्रमा करे पग पग सारी थारी महिमा जग से न्यारी थारी महिमा जग से न्यारी सौ जगदम के गाओ रे मारे वा तेरो पानी निर्मल कल कल बहतो जाओ रे मारे वा तेरो पानी निर्मल कल कल बहतो जाओ कल कल बहतो जाओ कल कल बहतो जाओ Thank you so much.